June 2002. This man is Ted Hoover, the prime suspect in the disappearance of 20-year-old Allie Kemp, who was last seen at the local swimming pool where she worked as a lifeguard. Roger Kemp, Allie's father, was the one who discovered his daughter's body under a tarp in the maintenance room of the community pool where she worked. Around 5:30 p.m., Roger went looking for her after his son, who was supposed to meet Allie, was unable to find her in the pool. Concerned, Roger urgently began his search. The first thing he noticed was that his daughter's car was still in the parking lot, which increased his concern. He rushed into the pool, looking everywhere for Allie. He looked deep in the water, around the grounds, even behind the baby pool. As he scoured the place, he noticed that Allie's belongings, such as her purse, cell phone, and car keys, were on the counter, but there was no sign of his daughter. Desperate, he entered the pump room, and although visibility was limited, he searched every nook and cranny. As he walked to the back of the room, he looked behind the pumps. As he turned to leave, something caught his eye. A leg was sticking out from under a tarp. Lifting it up, he tragically found Allie's body. Roger was in shock at the devastating scene. At that moment, he realized that she had been brutally beaten and apparently tortured. Family and friends quickly arrived, clinging to the hope that doctors could save her. Although the medical team tried their best, they were unfortunately unsuccessful. Allie passed away shortly after being transferred to the local hospital. Roger said, "The most horrible feeling in the world is simply indescribable. Our hearts were broken." Authorities in Leawood, Kansas initially had few leads or suspects in connection with the brutal murder of the young college student. Craig Hill, retired deputy police chief, described the scene in the maintenance room where Allie was found as evidence of a fierce fight. "It was like a grenade had exploded." Investigators initially turned their attention to Phil Howes, Allie's on-and-off boyfriend of years. However, according to retired Leawood Police Sergeant Scott Henson, Howes had a solid alibi that ruled him out as a suspect. News of the teen's death spread quickly throughout the community, leaving everyone in shock. The entrance to the Foxborough pool was filled with friends and neighbors who came to pay their respects, leaving flowers and mementos in tribute to a young life that came to a tragic end. As we covered the story, people continued to arrive. I hope they find the person responsible and that he didn't suffer too much. Roger Kemp, devastated by the situation, takes strength and began appearing on television shows, trying to raise awareness of what happened to his daughter and hopefully help police catch the killer. Investigators are now working at full speed, transforming the case from a simple attack into a violent murder. A week since Allie Kemp's murder, her friends have been spending hours distributing the sketches of the man that police released based on witness accounts around the city. Although they have been fielding calls to the hotline, now that the sketches are visible to the public, the phone wouldn't stop ringing. In the first few days, police received more than 400 tips. As early as July 2002, everyone in the community is paying attention to this case, doing everything possible to locate the killer. However, despite the efforts, no clues have emerged to shed light on the case. Roger Kemp and his family have decided to offer a $1,000 reward for any information that might lead to the capture of the killer. But Roger feels that more is needed and began raising more money, bringing the total to $50,000. Roger is visibly doing everything he can to keep his daughter's case in the public's mind. "We just want to find this guy." But as the months passed and hope faded, there were no concrete leads on the perpetrator. A year after the murder, in June 2003, while driving down the interstate, Roger came across a billboard and noticed that thousands of eyes were looking at it every day. He thought, why not use a billboard to help? Although he didn't think it would work at first, they started getting calls from people who, after seeing the billboards, felt compelled to report it. He remembered feeling very sad as he walked past those billboards, aware that the killer was still at large, but also hopeful that someone might remember some detail, even though the case was going cold. As soon as the billboards were put up, the tips started coming in again, even faster than before. Police soon received information from several people about a man named Ted Hoover who matched the description, and one of the callers provided authorities with Hoover's address. Upon arrival, Roger saw the brown Ford pickup parked in the driveway and knocked on the door. Ted Hoover opened, And although Hoover could not determine what he was doing the day of the murder, it made detectives suspicious, but without evidence or a warrant, they were unable to arrest him that day. At the time, Ted Hoover was just another suspect, but while awaiting a response from his attorney, they discovered that he had fled the state. An effort was made to locate Ted Hoover throughout the United States, but there was no trace of him in any database. It was as if he had vanished. Investigators discovered that Ted Hoover may have a girlfriend who recently moved to Connecticut. Upon contacting the local post office, they confirmed that a man using the name Benjamin Appleby resides at the same address. It appears that the suspect has adopted a new identity. Therefore, they requested Connecticut authorities to place Benjamin Appleby under surveillance, and he was eventually apprehended on an outstanding warrant for his arrest in Connecticut on November 8, 2004. They are convinced that this is the correct individual, but without a DNA sample, they cannot be certain. Mr. Appleby initially refuses to provide his DNA, but eventually agrees and the sample is obtained. However, the investigators are not going to wait to receive the test results. What they are really looking for is a confession. And he confessed that he wanted to flirt with her, and upon Ali's refusal, he ended up brutally beating her and ended her life by strangling her. In November 2005, Ted Hoover faces trial for the rape and first-degree murder of Ali Kemp. On December 5th, after just 2 hours of deliberations, the verdict is rendered. On the first count of capital murder, the jury finds the defendant guilty. He is sentenced to 50 years to life in prison without parole until 2054. Roger Kemp will finally be able to give rest to his beloved Ali, who devoted herself tirelessly to seeking justice for her daughter's murder. And it was in the course of all this struggle to track down the person responsible. Roger never gave up. He became the spokesman for all parents. Together with his wife, they realized that they did not want something like this to happen again to another girl. So they decided to organize a self-defense class for girls, which they called Take Defense. In 2011, Roger Kemp was successfully nominated by both Kansas senators to receive the Presidential Citizens Medal. From more than 6,000 nominations from across the country, the White House team spent 3 months reviewing the nominations before choosing him as one of 3 Americans awarded the medal that year. It's a great honor to receive the Presidential Citizens Medal, and it's gratifying to be recognized, Kemp said after receiving the award. To me, it means that people understand and value what we do. Roger Kemp passed away unexpectedly on March 1, 2022, a day when, no doubt, Ali would be proudly waiting for him to be reunited with the man who fought to finish and win that fight that afternoon. If you like this story, subscribe and like it so you won't miss the next video. See you next case.